Well, good morning, Tartaria, Australia. We are in, what are we in? The third week of January. Oh my God. What happened? It's so such a speedy start to the year, man.
I know. A crazy start.
Uh,
Jeez, Orange Man's been going off, hasn't he? Taken over Venezuela, Greenland, now he wants Mexico, he's been after Canada. Sounds a lot like that map we've seen, with the nations, the European nation, the African nation, the Pan American. It's exactly the map, right? So they're
And
pushing, man, they're pushing.
did you see that he did a whole press conference about refunding the lunatic asylums?
No.
Yeah, I watched it.
What?
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, actually, find it. It was really weird because obviously it just feels like so stepping back to the beginning of the Tartaria
It's
situation with the
a
lunatic
reset
asylums.
over. I know. Well, I mean, I guess that's what a lot of this, hate speech laws that they're passing is about. And, it's just gone through Australia,
Sorry.
right? All of these, hate speech laws that they're passing. But of course, it's not if someone does it to us. It's only if someone does it to someone with a small hat or from some other
Yeah.
minority that's not native to this country, right?
Yep.
So it's such BS. Like
It's
oh my God.
it's really tough, man. It's really full on. I tell you, it just made me go, ooh, we're in the like,
And then you've got to ask if they do this and they start, locking people up, where are they going to lock them all up in? Because we've had this conversation before about lunatic asylums and, theorizing that this is what happened. People who didn't toe the line got locked up. And
exactly.
is that what they're
And
trying to do again?
not that I want to start the show on the entity who possibly is Lucifer. But let's just start with this, just because it tripped me out, just because of the connection with TA, Tartaria.
Mm.
An executive order to bring back mental institutions and insane asylums. We're going to have to bring them back. Hate to build those suckers, but you got to get the people off the streets. Signed an executive order to bring back mental institutions and insane asylums. We're going to have to bring them back. Hate to build those suckers, but you got to get the people off the streets.
We
Yep.
got to get the people off the streets.
Yeah, I know, like
What are we going to do with the people on the streets? I know. Lunatic asylums.
lunatic asylum. So let's not, put them in houses or, you know, put them in nature. It's just
No, and we don't want them
reopen
in
the
our
same loop.
15-minute cities, right? Because they might disrupt the normies and point things out to them. So lock them away.
I mean, I don't want to get into all of the politics that's going on in this realm right now because at the end of the day, it's going to be the same. It's going to be this, an increasing intensity. It's going to just keep unfolding this way. We know that's what's happening. We don't need to give it our attention. There's literally 1 billion other YouTube stations that will cover these, whatever topics come to mind as soon
Yes,
as they unravel.
multiple times.
I mean, I have to say that I have been like in awe of watching this Arctic freeze go
Oh,
across and the snows and the Russia in Russia and obviously hitting the Americas now.
the
So
Americas. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
saw a video of
and Japan actually.
Japan too. I saw a
Yep.
video of Pensacola Beach in
Mm,
Florida with
mm.
like 2 inches of snow across it.
Yeah.
That's like
Yep.
literally it's so close to the equator down there. It's 112% humidity, 35 degrees every day. And it's got snow on the beach. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And there's some emergency scenarios in New Zealand right now. There's obviously some shit happening in Victoria, like with flooding. We've had I mean, it's just an ongoing bombardment, all engineered,
Yeah.
and really so disappointing and depressing that we have to witness this. I mean, when it's in the face of nature, it's not natural nature,
No.
and people, yeah, are getting really hurt by it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think it's all this is happening because people are putting so much focus on it. And like we know, right, that's all, like you said, there's a billion other YouTube channels and TikToks and Instagrams and Facebook that are going to cover this story. They're all going to cover it. because they want views, right? And all they're doing is putting that they're just helping the allies, right? The allies put out a story, and then everyone copies it and puts it out and puts it out and and that's exactly what they want. Because when we're focusing on this, we create it,
Mm.
right? And that's the biggest issue, I think, and that's their biggest tool, and they know this. That's why they're doing it. That's why there's so much stuff going on. So, like you said, we don't want to talk about that because it doesn't help. I think what helps is we really need to decide where we're going in the future and start walking that path, right?
I mean, it's still fucked up and it's still really traumatic. And like, soon enough, we are going to know humans in real life in our lives who are being impacted by these events. So if you're one of them in our community, that fucking sucks and really sorry to hear it. And, you've always got the support of a million different groups that we've set up. If you need anything, reach out, reach out.
Yeah, all the links are below. We've set up so many different, WhatsApp groups and different things. We've got to get your shit together hour, like, because we just see that when people, have people on their level, they find their tribe, their lives change for the better. It just does
Yeah.
because there's still so much isolation out there and all this crap that's, a hangover from 2020, right? So definitely get out there, get yourself out there, chat in the comments, find out who's near you and start meeting up in person.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean out there in the world it's a bit like, unpredictable but predictable and epic but like frustrating and and all these like contradictory elements and so I guess today we're going to keep going with the numbers conversation because even
Mm,
though talking on numbers is definitely not my specialty. Certainly the linguistic and the language of numbers is certainly not my natural
forte.
flow. So
Yes.
the topic's actually quite it's quite difficult for me to keep my head into it, But like we're going to keep going because it's actually really important.
Yeah, I think so. Because one thing that we do see with all this stuff going on in the 2D world is the numbers. Like
Yeah.
every second video you see, they're like, look, 33, look, 11, look, blah, 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 blah. And so they're clearly using it, right? For that, because they understand it. They understand that
Hmm.
everything's energy. It's not physical. And energy is expressed in lots of different ways, but one is cymatics, which is geometry, which has angles, and angles are numbers. So this is all, I'm not saying this is a simulation and we found the code. I just think that this is the way that energy expresses itself, and then we turn it into a physical, interactive, process, whatever it is. So if we can understand what we're doing, and better than that, like what's the best time to do something, like when should we be doing it, how should we be doing it, then, it's probably like a superpower, right? Because, we
Yeah.
always ask, how do these crazy psychos get so much control and do all this stuff so quickly? And this is, we know that they've got different information that they use than what they teach us.
Yeah, for sure. And also the way that numbers have been introduced into our reality, the systems of numbers, how it's been brought in as part of our experience and has basically become our enslaver. So, as far as understanding, say, natural numbers versus the numbers of systems, like there's a big distinction there. So, as we spoke about simulation, theory, and how we've now decided that is a system that it sits in a very small part of nature, sits in a very small little hubs around nature. It's not this overriding and overreaching, thing that we completely exist in. That's not true. Like it sits in little hubs within nature on the earth, and it literally is governed by, electricity. And without that, it all disappears, right? And it's kind of the same here with the difference in the number distinctions. Literally, without electricity, numbers in this system would disappear. So you've got when we talk about the simulation, we're going to use the word system. Well, I am anyway. I'm going to use the word system. And so we've got the numbers that have come out of the system, and we've got the numbers that have come out of nature, and they're really different, right? So the ones out of the system are extractive,
Yeah, yeah,
literally parasitic in nature.
yeah. Yeah,
Literally,
yeah. They suck on us. Yeah, that they're debt based.
so much so. And I guess, if they kind of like they enforce behavior, they
Mm.
command behavior.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's rigid and it's, got format, it's this whole uniform sort of be like everyone else kind of thought,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Whereas the numbers in nature, how would you describe them, Cam? Like they're relationship, they're relational, so to speak, they're descriptive,
Mm.
they're
Expressive.
responsive. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are embodied. Yeah. Go on, tell me how you would describe them.
I would say that in school we get taught maths that is basically enough to buy stuff and pay a tax, and it's linear, right? Lineal maths. It's a line,
Yeah.
blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah, sequential, da 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 da. But the numbers and everything that we see expressed from nature are not. They're spirals, they're circles. We get a lot of non-whole numbers, like all these fractions, right? Like pi and phi and all this kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So
Pi is an interesting one.
they're not what's the word? Like that they can change. They're evolving. It's not a stagnant thing, right? And so, you've all heard about cymatics, which is frequency expressed, and cymatics are geometry, which are full of numbers, right? So and they change, right? They're moving, they're fluid, they have potential,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no potential in one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, right? Because it's lineal. You know what comes after four and before four, and it can't be changed, right? So it's a box, right?
Mm-hmm.
School
It's a
maths
fucking
is a
box.
box, right? It is.
Yeah. I
Whereas
mean,
natural is
mm-hmm.
interpretive, like you said, and expressive and changing and evolving. And if we can read that and get in sync with that, it's actually also the only real, organic, natural energy and number system. The rest is the overlay.
I mean, the extractive imposed numbers, it tells us when to work, when to panic, when we're late, when we failed, when we're in debt. It tells us when the fucking world ends, man. You know what I
I
mean?
know,
Like,
man. They've even got a doomsday clock.
fuck yeah.
But yeah, clocks are another big part of it, right? Like segmenting, the sky clock, the seasons, the days, the movement of the luminaries
Yep.
into numbers, number sections. Dunk, dunk, all perfect, whole numbers, dunk, 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 dunk. And they show it to us in a circle, but it's a circle that goes round and round and round and round, right? You're stuck in the loop. It doesn't spiral down and get smaller. It doesn't spiral up and get bigger. It doesn't have anything in there that's changing, right? That has potential.
And the thing with numbers in nature is when I say it's relational, it has like it's sort of like it's not about deadlines, it's not about scorecards, it's not about even urgency. It's about how would I put it? Like it describes form, it
Yeah.
describes behavior, it describes seasons, it describes harmonics, it describes movement, it describes structures. Like when I was actually looking at like the ones that we would like pi, for example, or geometry in nature, those systems have come out of patterns of basically how things work together. So in nature, and I think I put it really like simply, like a tree which needs sunshine will grow in a certain place, and a tree that is in its shadow or shade won't grow. And the mass of pi, that sort of like analogy, it's sort of come out of like a natural balance, like it's
Mm.
been formed out of a stress point almost. And, like too much or too little forms a certain, you know, sense of a number or a pattern, if you like. So
Mm.
it's more about reading the patterns that have been created through a natural flow, a natural season that then gives us this relationship or this relational reality to things. That's why numerology or astrology works. It's not like commanding us.
No,
or
yeah, yeah.
extracting from
And
us.
it's not a defined answer. It's got potential in
Yeah,
there, right? There's
it's like
always
a
potential for
system.
change. Hmm. But not the system. Yeah, well, it's like a
Has it just
tree.
started raining?
Oh, did it? It's not down here. Um, yeah, when trees
All
grow,
right.
they
Can you hear me
grow,
still?
they, yeah, yeah. Trees grow on the pi. It's pi, isn't it? Not phi. So 3.14. So basically, what it means is as the branches come out, as it's going up, they're a certain, number, right? Not whole number, away from each other. And that's done so that no branch is taking the light from the branch below it, right? And
Hmm,
so it's growing on this, number
with a
ratio.
pattern.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, if it gets hit by lightning and it loses a massive branch, it's still a tree, right? And it will then grow out in potential. That new branch will grow with the same thing. But in maths, if you take a big part out of an equation, it's dead, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
like
Because
it.
because the systems of maths, like when I went to really try to understand binary and what that meant, it's just a system of like yes, no,
Yeah,
like right, wrong,
on off.
up,
Yeah,
down,
mm,
on, off. That's essentially binary code.
yeah,
So yeah, so if one of those is like removed, then everything falls apart. And it's interesting because the system of numbers forces an artificial urgency. Would you agree? It forces this artificial urgency. It forces time. It forces countdowns, right? They fucking love countdowns. 9 to 5, that's a countdown, man. Our
mm,
9 to 5 is a countdown.
yeah.
Um, it
40-hour
forces
work
us to
week,
live in,
right?
yeah,
Like, there's all these numbers, right? 40 years, 40-year plan. Yeah. 18, you're an adult, or 21. And that makes us age, I think. All this focus on I'm this old, I'm this old. Oh no, now I'm this old. Like it puts in, like, again, there's no potential in there, right? As far as the whole system number thing, it's like, well, when you're 70 you're old, when you're 15 you're young. It's like these defined do.
yep,
At least that's what they want us to believe, right? That's what the system of the matrix is. But the other thing is, we are sacred geometry. We are pi, like the golden ratio, right? Like how, you can work out all different parts. So, your arm from your shoulder to here would be 1, and then to the tip of your longest finger is the 1 point, shit, what's pi? 1.163? Is that right? Or have I got that wrong? I can't remember. 3.14 is pi. No, phi is 1.163. Okay, I think that's right. Is that right? Pi. That doesn't. Anyway, the golden ratio. I'm gonna have to check that one out. But yeah, like literally, you can work out your whole body,
Mm,
like, and it all falls into this ratio of numbers. So, all plants are built off it. No doubt everything else is, right. Animals, mountains, who knows, right? But there is a definite makeup of a way that energy expresses itself in the physical, and it's not whole
definitely.
numbers. Yeah.
I think if I could summarize it to what I've sort of understand is that the system of numbers extracts wealth, resources, time, certainty, autonomy. It extracts emotions. It's an extractor. Whereas the nature of numbers, the natural numbers, it organizes things. I'd say that would probably be my most like simple analogy of it. So, last show it was really good because we kind of just started intuitively touching on this and not that elegantly, right? But like at the end of the day, the understanding behind it was there is a way through this system that has governed our lives. And if we're talking about the back into nature, the natural system, our true power source, when we talk about that, to re-enter that parameter, we have got like many natural numbers that will assist us in asking ourselves whether or not this is the right season for us to do something. So in understanding the nuance of that, it basically gives us a timeline that's our own. And if, because we can acknowledge, right, that this timeline that we all sit in has been hijacked, and we are governed by their doomsday timeline. We are governed by their one, so there's like one projected timeline that basically governs the world, and it comes in the form of, religions obviously have, I
Religions,
love their
books.
timelines,
Yep, yep.
um, politics, environmental urgency. Like they're really pushed this sense of in fact, I don't think in my whole lifetime there hasn't been a moment in my history personally where there hasn't been an urgency towards a deadline, a timeline, an end time.
Yeah.
You know, you agree?
Yeah, yeah, the end has always been imminent,
Yeah.
right? We had World War One. Then after
Yeah.
that, it was obviously, the rise of,
Hmm.
the Führer. They went into World War Two, so that was always bad. Then out of that, it went straight into nuclear war. The whole
The
nuclear
Cold
thing, the
War.
Cold War,
Yep.
Cuban Missile Crisis, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then in the 80s, we got the hardcore nuclear, like the Day After movie and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
And we had Chernobyl, radio,
Yes.
like, and it just keeps going. There's always this doomsday coming, but if you haven't noticed, guys, it never gets here. It
Never
never
gets here.
gets here, and they are ramping it up more and more and more right now, right? Oh my God, 3i Atlas is coming. Oh my God, there's going to be World War Three. Oh my God, this and that, and uh, this is all fear, and just to keep us in fear, right, and controllable.
Which is extractive.
Which is
So they're
extractive.
the false
And
numbers.
like you say, it's always based around dates, 3 Atlas will be here on this date. Oh my God, World War Three, which means it's worse than one and two. And all this dumb stuff, and then all their hiding numbers in there.
Yep.
But it's all contrived. It's got nothing to do with nature. And it only works if we put all our energy into it. But I mean, it clearly doesn't work, right? And it's just, I think, another big, thing to take notice of, that the whole system is crap, right? The system that's pushing all of this stuff, algorithms are numbers, right? The binary, it's all numbers.
Which
Banking,
would
right? All numbers.
which would all fall apart, without electricity, without this closed grid.
Well, this
These
is the
system
thing.
numbers disappear.
Yeah, yeah. You look in the past, right? Is it the Temple of Dendera in Egypt? It's got the flower of life, like lasered, like they cannot replicate. It's lasered into like marble, and then everywhere, all over the cathedrals, the old world temples, there's cymatics and frequency stuff and everywhere, right? But you never ever go into a temple and say 1010101010, right? Because it didn't exist back then. And this is the whole thing with, it's trigger warning. Simulation theory, right? Is there's no evidence for it back then. They weren't talking about numbers and psych. They were talking about energy and things on a different level.
Mhm.
The electronic system, the internet, movies like The
Yeah.
Matrix. All of these ideas only came up after that, and this is a thing we see all the time, right? It's like the
Yeah.
space race, right? It was on TV and in
And
books
mm,
before they showed us the fake moon landing and said we're going to space. Nuclear war again was in movies and stuff before they're saying, "Oh my God, it's coming now. We've got." This is all predictive programming, man. It's
they
all
even changed the numbers of the harmonics, of
yeah,
music.
440 to
I mean, they
433. I mean,
literally they
433
changed.
to 440. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yep.
the harmonics got changed. So that was a very distinctive shift in number, in a natural number into a system number,
Yep, yep.
you
And
know?
this is, yeah, and then you look at stuff like vortex maths, which looks at numbers in a circle and in number groups and really starts to, you can really start to understand that they're they're not all this, they're not just a row of, shapes, right? They actually have their own frequencies and energies and potentials and all this kind of stuff. Like it's a system, right?
I
That
mean,
we're reading.
even daylight savings, which has been enforced on us, that all that does is fuck up our own like circadian rhythms,
Circadian rhythms.
like it's like an imposed shift in time. And these the imposition of calendars and weekdays and when you're meant to work and
Mm.
what days you're not. And when a year begins and ends, and they like to, signify that with events that are, you know, precisely put every year in the exact same date in order to construct this notion of time. Like in indigenous cultures, there wasn't calendars like that. There were seasons. There wasn't work days. There
No.
was like movement of organizing energy in a way that made sense to, how they were perceiving and experiencing the real world at that time.
Mm.
So time itself has been governed by this false system. And as we know, there's like 72 calendars that operate today, putting us all over the shop with time. But daylight savings, what a ingenious and diabolical thing they imposed on us there by
Mm.
just fucking with that 1 hour. It got us used to the idea that that's doable and they do it. So, like, and now that time is so digital, in essence, it's so digital. If they remove 1 minute while we sleep, it alters our whole experience of reality.
Mm.
And how often have they been doing that? Just taking out 30 seconds or 1 minute or 2 minutes, like this whole false system that governs us is a false system of numbers,
Mm.
you know. And the worst
Totally.
thing is, that it gives us a consensus of a timeline,
Yeah.
and it removes our autonomy with our own timeline. So this is why manifestation is not a good equation, because you can't just manifestation with the concept of it just being positive thinking and getting into the feeling of it. Like that's sort of like the most shallowest version of understanding why that would work. But really, why it's probably working is because the person who's attempting to manifest something is either in the right season for themselves to do that or they're not. They're in the right year energetically for themselves to succeed or they're not. There's a whole other personalized timeline that we do not access very commonly. We play around with numerology. There's obviously a lot of people who, know a lot more about it than you and I do, Cam, but we know nothing
We
really,
know
really
nothing.
babies at
Yeah.
this point. But you can see what excites me is I can see that it basically is a crack through the system of numbers.
Mm.
Because when you're understanding your own flow, your own seasons, your own dates, your own personal numbers, when you're experiencing those and governing your choices based on them, you are inevitably creating a dominant timeline in your life
Mm.
that is suddenly completely personalized and individualized. And when you do that, you step out of their urgency, you set out of their doomsdayness, you step away from that. And
Yeah.
suddenly you're just looking at, like seasons, movements, like
Yeah.
embodying certain energies at certain times. Like it changes the entire relationship we have with choice. I think, anyway, I think it's like a really important crack through this situation we're in,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
You can get back in flow, right? Back in sync. And like you said, when we're working and we're looking at clocks all the time and all these numbers, like we can't do that. If you've got a full-time job and 9 to 5, you can't just go, oh, it's the right time to go and manifest. I need to go and, whatever, right? I need to go and buy a coffee so I can meet my significant other. You can't do that because you're trapped by their numbers, right? But and they do this, with dates, right? Like Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving's, Valentine's. We've got all these dates, right? All these days. But the thing is, with Easter, Easter's supposed to be on the spring equinox. So it's whenever the spring equinox is. But when they put a day to it, it's this day of this month. It only hits the actual spring equinox every, what, probably 4 or more years. So they've built this rigid system, do this cage
mm-hmm,
around us, and the actual natural flow of numbers is completely different. Like I said, it
it is.
changes. It's not
Yep.
stagnant. It can move.
Yes.
Hmm.
If we as on an individual level trusted our own seasons, what would happen? Who would lose monopoly? Who would lose monopoly on divine timing? That would eradicate religion because they control through divine timing. Kings, queens, rulers, governments, all of them, they have a monopoly on timing. But if we as individuals are trusting our own season, then we are not paying any attention to their timing because it's completely out of relationship with our own. So it
Mm.
really is a shift in understanding how when you talk about these words like awakening, which has become such an arduous word right now, but this concept of like, waking up from the slumber and sleep. I mean, you can really apply it to this conversation. Waking up from the false divine timing, the false monopoly on timing, the false use of numbers in the system, waking up to that. And I think as the communities have sort of like started navigating through sovereignty law, this is a big part of that. This instinct that we have been following a false clock, a false God, a false system. But it's not like it's a hopeless situation because there are plenty of natural systems that help us know our own seasons. Numerology being one, astrology being the other, I Ching. The I Ching, it's been around forever. And this is the I Ching isn't like extractive or dominating. It's more like would say something like, this is a wise time for movement.
Mm.
It's like a guidance through your own timeline.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many wonderful support like systems out there in regards to the true season that you're in that completely eradicates you
Yeah.
100%
Uh,
from the
yeah.
system.
And thank you to everyone who did write in about different, numerology people and courses and stuff. We do appreciate it. Let us know if you know more, like about the I Ching. Um, but yeah, and now I forgot what I was going to say. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is yeah, it's totally the system is entrapping, right? And nature is expansive. Like, it doesn't tell you it's 7 o'clock. Get up. You got to be on the
Yeah,
train by seven
definitely
thirty.
not. Definitely not. I mean, if you followed your own seasons and like left the 9 to 5 concept, which is incredibly difficult, and work seasonally and create energy, create things when your energy is peaking and rest when the alignment drops a little bit.
Mm,
Like
I'm just getting
what would
confused.
happen to one individual journey? Well, you'd get fewer obstacles. You'd have more, where'd he just go? More coincidences would happen in your life, faster manifestation that would happen naturally by resisting or dissolving this false system of numbers that are around you. It's not because you've bent reality so much, which I think is what personal development like kind of
Yeah,
couples with manifestation that you've
you're
created,
changing it.
yeah,
Yeah,
you've
yeah, yeah,
bend reality,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
not like that. You've just become wise in how you work with your own seasons,
Yeah, you're in
with
sync
your
with
own
it.
numbers.
You've worked out what it is and you're flowing with it rather than trying to change it, which that is exactly what they teach in self-development, which is wrong. But it's interesting that we have like terms like divine timing and all of these, arts are called divination, right? And divine, it sounds like a good thing to be. Like there's a good
Yeah.
link there, right? That all of these arts are what make you divine, which put you in divine timing, which basically put you in sync, make
Yes.
everything easy because you're in the
Yes.
flow. You're work. I mean, look at
Yes.
animals, right? Like birds don't like, sleep in ever because they're waiting for their clock and the alarm doesn't go off. They're up, they're in the cycle, right? They know they're up before the sun because they know because they're in flow. All animals are in flow, right? All nature is in flow. It's not stopping and starting for any system. It's just going with the seasons, going with the natural
Yeah.
energies and flow. And if
Yes.
we can do that too, then should be abundant and as expansive as nature. Because I
Yes.
mean, you can't look at nature. It's just doing its thing, right? But it's doing it at
Yes.
the right time, right?
It's in sync
It's in
because
sync.
it's a system that's been designed of movements of energy.
Mm,
So it's in sync, it's in harmony, and we look at the Tartarian buildings, they've lasted the test of time because they've been built using sacred geometry.
yes.
They've been built through movements of energy as opposed to this dominating extractive system, which we now see in our buildings, today. They're a dominant extractive system and they look like that. They absolutely look like that. Whereas, you know, and when in history, when I started to look through history and try to figure out when this began and how it began, you know, in abundance, like we're in it right now, you know, the thing with historical events that are based on extractive number systems, they ultimately collapse. You know, there's one clock, one calendar, one countdown, one apocalypse, you know, like one type of work, you know, one type of hours that you're meant to work, one type of, you know, weekend you're meant to have, you know, this is the time you're meant to do. Society collapses and we're
You're
on the
the
brink of
one.
that now. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but when we look at historical events that have built through the harmonics of seasonal numbers, we could sort of argue, and though we can't argue this like with any sort of authority, but we could argue that what we see through our lens of the Tartarian culture is it lasted. It lasted a long time. And the buildings to this day are still in existence. You know, they make up the pivotal, you know, beauty of all of our cities
Mm.
around the world. Like it's so seasonal numbers, the nature of true numbers, they will last the test of time because they've been created out of a system of the natural energy and harmonics of the true natural world. But when you have a false overlay system of numbers, it forces collapse. It always leads towards an apocalyptic countdown. Always, throughout all history, it's always an apocalyptic countdown. So when we talk about resets, the idea of a reset has been forced into our reality. It's
Yeah,
not like a
yeah, for
natural thing that
sure.
nature generates.
No, no, I like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm now wondering if any of the resets are natural. Like,
How
because
can they be natural?
we don't have an edge, we don't, it's an edge, right? We can't prove that, you know, whatever, right? Mud fell from the sky in one of them and plasma melted everything and like that. They all look like events, like invasion events that like an attack on us because, most of this stuff that we see in cities for one point. Like I mean, I haven't checked, but out in the countryside, are we getting all this, evidence of mud, floods and things like that? Now it looks like the cities that are being attacked, right? So we just, and nature, we don't see that in nature. We don't see nature destroying itself. Like nature literally, as something, ends its time here, it turns in, it gives life to the next thing,
Yeah,
right? Like no, it's like Shiva, right? Death is the rebirth. Like it's this cycle, cycle, cycle. But yeah, in the system, it's not right. Things are useful until they're not, and then they're destroyed, right? Like
yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's very
so
different. Like
the systems of numbers, the simulation of numbers, they rule through imposed numbers. That's how they do it. They rule through imposed numbers.
impose, yeah,
It's imposed. Civilizations endure, last long time through relational numbers, natural numbers. That's how civilizations endure. But systems that rule do it through imposing numbers,
and
right? I mean, I drove down the main street of Malena yesterday, and I just, out of curiosity, I was just like, I'm going to see how many numbers I see and what sort of numbers I see just going down the main street. And the numbers were all like to do with speed and rules about driving and rules on the road and where you can park and when you can't park and how long you can park and how long you can't park. It's all this, it's those sorts of
restriction.
numbers.
Mm,
Yes, imposed authority upon us. Yeah. But like individuals, so I guess individuals who awaken, I guess, they're going to do it by reclaiming their own timing, which is exactly what you said with being in sync. So I love that idea, reclaiming our own timing. So
mm,
I guess the heart of this whole point of talking about numbers, that would be my statement, is that it gives us an avenue to reclaim our own fucking timing. And we haven't really put our attention on this as being pivotal and nuanced to how deeply immersed we are in the system as individuals. We're so deeply immersed in it simply because we haven't reclaimed our own timing.
mm,
Because once you
totally.
reclaim your own timing, things happen
Yeah,
easier, in flow,
you know,
success, more success. You avoid obstacles.
yeah. like Chronos, right? They love Chronos, right? Which is their time, but it's their artificial time. Because how many times have we heard time doesn't exist? There's only the now, and that's true. The timeline that we see is theirs. It's this sequential thing that that we're in the middle, and the future's out there, and the past is behind us, right? We don't see it as cycles and circles and spirals. We see it as this. Well, I was born and I was zero, and when I die, I'm whatever, right? Numbers, 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 and that this is how they control. They tell us, right? Chronos, which is Saturn and the black cube and all this kind of stuff. They're controlling time because
Yeah,
it's a box, man.
it's such a box.
It's such a
I mean,
box.
nature doesn't count. That's the other irony. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. It just settles. Nature settles. Nature settles and forms patterns. Nature
Mm,
settles, it doesn't collapse things. It just settles and forms patterns. Just like our own timeline, knowing our own timeline would just settle us because we would know the patterns of our own timeline. That's really important because, like, nature, I guess you would say, is optimized for, I don't know, like least resistance. Nature is optimized for least resistance.
mm. Yeah, and most potential, I would say as well. Where
Whereas a system of numbers, because it's imposed, is like the ultimate resistance.
mm,
All of the numbers that govern our lives, if we were to examine them, we would be in resistance to them because they're forcing us into a cube, as you were saying, as opposed to spirals of energy. They're forcing us into a cube. And
mm,
it's, of course, so I mean, it's perfect that the so many religions worship the cube.
the cube.
So it's
No,
like
no, no,
so
the
perfect on
box.
that level. Yeah, on the box.
It's
Like,
crazy. The Bible even has a book called the Book of Numbers. I haven't read it yet, but there's probably something interesting in there. And then we have things like the Bible codes, right? People, because all these old books, like we're told that they're physical stories of these people, but when people who are who are good scholars get into them and into the numerology, they're actually all about things like numerology and astrology and astrotheology and all these concepts of working with nature, working with the natural sky clock, the seasons, the days,
yeah,
all of this stuff. That's what it was all about.
yeah,
And that's also what we see all throughout the old world, right? With all
yeah,
their cymatics and their different symbols and the way they're constructed. It's all how do we work with nature? How do we make it
yeah,
easier? And as
yeah.
soon as we get into the whole like, oh, I've got to work the next 5 days, I've got to get up at 7 because I've got to
It
do
takes
this.
us totally
Got to
out of our
completely
season.
out. You don't even have time to think about what's natural because you're running
Yep,
around chasing these numbers until you find yourself on the couch, watching, a number, right? Probably channel something. And then you go to sleep, and it's normally too late, right? Because you're going off numbers, and you're like, oh my God, now I've only got 7 hours sleep, and I've got to be up again. Like
yeah,
totally out of sync with nature. It's got nothing at
yep.
all to do with
And
nature.
let me read you something. This was an interesting explanation of geometry because I was looking at all the natural numbers, and I like this. I'm just going to read it straight up. It says, spirals, ratios, symmetry, and cycles, they're load bearing. Like, I love that idea. So spirals distribute growth without crowding. Ratios prevent collapse as size increases. Cycles allow renewal without exhaustion. So if a tree didn't follow proportional geometry, it would snap. If
Yes.
blood didn't pulse rhythmically, it would clot. If seasons didn't oscillate, ecosystems would burn out. Geometry is structural memory. And that is one of the biggest, I guess, groups of natural numbers.
Mm.
So, I mean, to think of geometry not as this like 5D spiritual concept, but as just a load bearing action that nature has designed into its systems out of
Yeah.
survival.
I mean, even the word geometry, right? Geo is the earth, right? To do with the earth. And metry is a measurement, right? The measurement of the earth. But they don't teach us that. They
No.
teach us it's squares and triangles, and this is how you build a square building and all this
Yep.
stupid stuff. And just to mention as well, by the way, what do we call these people who love to tell us what to do? rulers, which is a way
Yeah,
to
yeah, that's
measure
true.
distance, which is numbers. Again,
That's true. And when the numbers are imposed by a system, so you have like deadlines and quotas, and in my land, KPIs and
yes,
deadlines and
yes. Oh,
decisions,
God.
binary decisions, a yes or a no, or a right or a wrong, or countdowns or clocks, you're completely out of relationship. Whereas the natural numbers are all about how do you relate to one another? How do
Mm,
you relate to this idea? It's all about relational. I could keep saying this enough. Like it's relating. How do you relate? Um, how do you distribute, you know, energy? How do you distribute strain? How do you grow? It's all about the relationship to that. And the system numbers is like it's like being put in jail, essentially. Like we get like contained in jail. And if you think about all the numbers that actually enter your life on a daily basis, you hate them. You try to avoid them because they're usually in the form of a fine, a bill, a tax, a
time,
deadline, a
clock, yep,
quota.
deadline.
Yeah, I mean, these are so, whenever we get a letter in the mail, and the letters, those ones with the blank envelopes and they're skinny and they've got a government seal on, you know it's full of numbers that
Mhm.
are being imposed on you that you didn't agree to, that aren't fair, that aren't just, that you have no real area to be able to counteract it. You either have to,
Mm.
like,
And
I
even, I
got,
mean, what is money?
yeah,
People are
money's
like,
the false
they're like, I
system
don't
of
have enough money.
numbers.
But what are they really saying? They're saying there's not enough numbers when I go to my bank account. Like, that's literally what we're saying. There's not enough
Yeah,
numbers,
yeah,
right? And this
yeah.
is the whole monetary system is now numbers, right? And they can mess with them. But, when it was gold backed or silver backed, like currency was backed by something that was worth something, you can't mess with the numbers, right? The
Mm-hmm.
potential, it just
Mm-hmm.
grows as with the economy, with nature. It ebbs and flows, right? Much different
Mm-hmm.
to the system we've got now. Where like I've got $1, I've got $10. Oh, now my $10 is only worth $5 because they printed another 10 million $10. It's this
Yeah, and they change
ridiculous
the interest
number
rates,
dance, and they changed the
and
numbers on the interest rates, and
that's right. And
the
my ten
GDP
dollars,
numbers changed.
yes,
It's
and my $10 is only worth $3 when I enter your country, and then when I enter the other country, it's worth $15. Like there's like
yes,
this squeezing of these numbers to squeeze the pressure. So let me ask you then, and let me ask everyone who's listening. When you're running your life off the system of numbers, the simulation of numbers, I mean, how does it make you feel? Versus when you're in sync with your own timing and the nature of numbers, how does it make you feel? Like, there's a big
yeah.
tangible difference there.
Oh, totally, totally. How do you feel when you wake up 5 minutes late on a Wednesday morning, as opposed to
Urgent, you feel
lying
urgent.
on a field, staring up at a tree, and not having any time at all in your mind? Like they're completely different realities, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
totally different. I mean, essentially, your nervous system will calm down. When you're in alignment with your own natural numbers, your nervous system will calm down. Decision making would become clearer. There would be easier, more obvious decisions to make. Your effort could decrease. Your effort will decrease.
It
In,
should. It
mm-hmm.
should. Once you're in sync, then,
Yep.
you're only, for one thing, you're only putting effort in when it's a good time to put effort in.
Yep.
Right? But you're in the flow, so you're in the abundance as well. Because look at nature.
Exactly.
All
Your
it
outcomes
is
should
abundance.
improve.
Yeah, like they try and teach us lack. I actually saw a bloody video with Bill Gates, Billy Goat on it, and he's like talking about, I've grown up in this world of lack, but AI will save us. We'll have
Mm.
abundance again. And I'm like, you are like, oh my God, you're an evil dude. Because who's ever gone into nature and gone, oh, look at all this lack? Right?
Yeah.
There's no, all there is abundance, right? Even when they go and they log an area, you go back a year later, and oh my God, it's abundance again.
Mm.
Like you cannot stop it, but they love to make us think that it's
Yeah.
lack. How do they do
Yeah.
that? With numbers. Oh,
Yeah,
look,
for
the numbers in
sure.
your bank account are going down. The numbers at the
Yep.
supermarket are going up. Oh my God, there's not enough toilet paper, right? Like it's all numbers to trap us and to teach us lack.
That's right. And when you're in nature, there's a sense of trust. There's a sense of trustworthy time. There's a sense of trust there. The animals, the instincts, they move seasonally. You can trust their movements. Like if you watch, all the birds fly across your head, you know that something's happened. You can take omens in nature.
Mm,
Ants will do specific things when rain's coming. Barks on trees will do specific things. Like nature has systems operating through natural intelligence, and so there's a feeling of trust and
mm.
calmness and regeneration. This is when we say you'll find your power source in nature. Well, this is what we're talking about. This calmness, this trustworthy, rhythmic aliveness, that's the natural world. But like I tell you what, even if you've got a bank account of $1 million, there's anxiety there, there's urgency there, and it's brittle. And it's brittle because they're false numbers. So at any point, it can collapse. It can be removed from your account. The economy could collapse. One day you've made $1 million with crypto, and then within 1 hour, it's gone. You've lost it all.
Oh my God.
Everything's
I lost a
inflated and
zero.
deflated. Yeah, I mean everything. So it's like even when you have succeeded in the systems of numbers, it's really brittle.
Yeah.
It's really brittle. So it causes like you can never escape the nervous energy that it generates in you.
Yeah, there's anxiety at both ends, right? I
100%.
don't have enough numbers, and oh my God, I've got all these numbers. I need to protect them, or I'm going to lose them, or
Yep.
someone's going
Yep.
to take them from me.
Mhm.
And is it enough numbers? When can I stop working? When can I stop collecting numbers? I don't know. Maybe I need a few more numbers before I decide that. And then, it's like, oh my God, now my age number is way too high, and I don't get to enjoy all the numbers in the bank. And then
100%.
I was just thinking about the weather. Like, people who live in nature, they don't need weather reports, right? They, like you're saying, that they read, right? They watch the animals.
Yeah.
They know what season it is and what time. And, it's
Hmm.
like when you're in nature, it's like, oh, it's starting to get dark. I guess, it's time to go back. It's evening. And so what do we do? We watch numbers on the screen. Today it's going to
Yeah.
be 32. And then that means nothing because I've literally heard it. And they're like, well, it's going to be 32, but it's a cool 32 or it's a hot 32. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
the hell? But
Yeah.
they've changed weather into numbers.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
they mess
Yes.
us up with the Celsius Fahrenheit, so we can't even
Yes.
communicate to each other in
Yes.
those languages.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has
Mm-hmm.
been turned into sequential numbers, right? Not
Yep.
real
Yep.
numbers.
Yep. Absolutely. And I guess when you move out of that and into your own system of numbers, your own personal timeline, suddenly all of that loses power in your life. And I think probably the happiest people on the planet that I've ever met, really, are those who are in nature and living basically an off the grid life. They're poor. They're usually poor because they
Number
haven't.
poor.
Yeah, because the money is part of the false system. So they usually trade that for that. But in doing that, they have given themselves back seasonal time. And even if they're not educated on their own time, their own timeline, even if they haven't done that, they're still much better off being in the natural syncing of seasonal time alongside nature. They just are they're wiser people. They're more practical people. They're people you would trust. They're trustworthy people because they've grounded themselves in those seasonal numbers.
Mm.
And then so the apocalypse and that a countdown would just it just loses power. You're no longer governed by the urgency of that propaganda because it's an urgent propaganda. It all depends. Like everyone who ever talks about it is always in a state of urgency, always in a state of forcing people's attention, like extracting the emotions, extracting the energy, like this is happening, this is coming. We've got to, like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's urgent. It's all propaganda, you know? And that's just like, so it basically, the system of numbers eradicates and makes irrelevant individual timelines. So
Yes.
it removes, it becomes a collective, a hive mind timeline. And that's what we're in. All of these billions of videos that get released every day, it's a hive mind timeline. And
Yeah.
it's all gearing towards the same timeline.
It's totally because they're chasing numbers, right? Because make money from social media, right? So they're chasing numbers. They're not in flow, and it's it's very AI, right? Which
Oh,
again, AI is zero ones. It can't even count, right? But back in the day, even 4 or 5 years ago, everything on YouTube was the creation, the imagination of someone, right? Like there wasn't much copycatting. Now everyone is either copying each other, like to the point where literally there's people insert themselves into someone else's video and they just sit there and don't even do anything. Um, or they're copying the mainstream, all the stories that are pushed out by that. And so
yeah.
it's doing what AI does. It's just replicating, taking what's already been created and replicating it, maybe changing it a little bit, but replicate. There's no inherent imagination or creation in that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Like if I guess we could say if the numbers that you're looking at increases your anxiety, it's used against intelligence, right? If the number increases clarity, more clarity, which is quite a hard thing to achieve in this lifetime, to actually align with and increase your clarity, then those numbers are serving intelligence, right?
Mm,
So that's why when we start to look at numerology and astrology and you know, all of those modalities that work with patterns, they do tend to increase your clarity, your individual clarity, which decreases your anxiety, which would then say, if that equation's right, it's serving intelligence. But then when I get a bill in the mail for not wearing my seatbelt correctly, then that is definitely against my intelligence. It's against intelligence. Like when I have to go to work Monday to Friday, just because that is when we have to go to work, that doesn't serve intelligence. Because if the better way for me would be to wake up and say, is going to work right now aligned with me? You know,
yeah, is today a
does
work
it
day?
serve me today or should I rest today? Will I achieve a flow today? Will it give me optimal results or will it do the opposite? That's
It's
the wisdom in the
yeah.
difference in asking.
It's so interesting, right? Because I mean, I'm sure everyone's done it. I've definitely done it a lot where you're not running off numbers and you're like, "Oh, I need to get all this stuff done." And some days you'll go out and you'll put all this effort in, and like 8, 10 hours later, you're like, I achieved, what have I done? I spent all this time and nothing happened. Other
Yeah.
days, everything's so easy and you get so much done. And it was like, oh, well, that was good.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
just because, yeah, like we're just randomly hitting these days that are better for work, right? Better for output. And this is a thing like if we followed these numbers, you wouldn't have to work as much, right? Because you get so much more output when you actually are working.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mm.
Agreed. And because we're not in sync with our own systems, we're in a constant state of nervous breakdown. We're in a constant state of having to basically feeling like we're fucked up, basically feeling like we need therapy, basically feeling like we need to purge the trauma in us. Like we constantly, because we're being governed by an extractive system, we feel that when we're not being successful in that extractive system, or we don't feel good in that extractive system, that there's something wrong with us that we need to extract out of us. And that's where therapy and personal development and all the modalities and the healings, they're so popular now because we're constantly immersed in this extractive relationship. So within that system, you feel like you need to purge all the time. It's just an
Yeah.
unconscious pathway or pattern that you're following.
Yeah. You constantly need to, improve yourself, get better, get rid of all the trauma and the
Yeah.
anxiety and all the heavy metals and the
Yeah.
toxins and blah 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 blah. And it's all about, ultimately being successful, right? But successful where?
Yeah.
In the number system, right? And we know that, the more successful you are, the more numbers they throw at you, right? You have to pay more tax, you have to pay more rates, you have to pay more of this, and numbers, numbers, numbers. Where, I think really the most successful life is one that's lived well, enjoyed, where you have health and abundance, right? I mean, in the end, you're not going to, be on your deathbed going, wow, I had 3 Ferraris and a Porsche, and a big house on the beach. 'Cause, in the end, that doesn't matter. That's the overlay, and that's what keeps us chasing numbers, right? Trying to keep up with the
Yeah.
Joneses.
I mean,
It's a
the
scam.
money system, I mean, that's kind of like where this kind of all began. We go back to the Phoenicians or the Sumerians, this
Consumerism,
introduction. Yeah.
possessions.
Yeah. And the money system, it kind of like that in that one single introduction, it kind of immediately divorced people from reality. It immediately divorces you from reality.
Yeah,
And to
well,
the point, yeah.
it was a
And
big
here
one
we
because they
sit today.
introduced the clock at the same time, right? Money, but then you needed to work for your money. So suddenly you got clocks and you need to be time, you clock on, clock off, and I mean that it was just it's so alien to us. And the
Yeah.
other thing that this working week, right, has done is they've stolen the night from us, Kelly,
The what?
right? The night.
What did you?
People aren't out at night
Other
watching the
night.
stars because they get home and they're too tired and they can't do
Yep.
anything because they've had too many numbers in their day, right? Like, and the night is full of stars, right? And the moon, it is the natural numbers and the natural cycles and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And basically, they've got us, focusing on the day so we can work and be productive and make more numbers. And we've missed the night. If you're out at night, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously people can't, but most people are out in a club if they're going out at night or they're inside. And then on top of that, they've got us to look past the stars, right? So we're not looking at most people don't look at the stars. They're like looking past. Oh, I wonder how many aliens are out there in the expanding void, and where are the space? Like it. So it in the old world, it looks like it was looked at as almost like a screen, right?
Yeah.
It was there, and you could follow the movements and read things off them. Now people look
Yeah.
through it to
Yeah.
this imagined 2 billion light years away, kind of stupid way of thinking. So it's really what they've done with it all is made us disregard, right, the
Yeah.
stars
I
and their
mean,
wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, it divorces us from reality for sure. I mean, if you go back to the money situation, introducing money to our realm, I guess, and we're in a situation now where, like the value, like the system of numbers within money was originally introduced as a denoting value, an exchange, if you like. But that lasted probably for 1 second because then value started to be deflated, inflated, diminished. Like the value of it got removed, so it no longer became a description of value, if you like. So then it just started to command behavior.
Mm,
And that happened almost instantly. Very, very, would for me say that that was all very pre-planned. Like it wasn't like money was ever
yeah.
introduced naturally or became an organic unfolding. Like we sold this story of the barter system. I remember at school being sold that story in year 8. We had to do this whole thing about the barter system.
Ah, the
And it's
system.
just like, and even today, the money financial gurus, if you go to one of their talks, they'll start with explaining the history of money as like this barter system. But I don't believe that was ever the case. I think it was introduced with a long-term plan, and almost immediately it was all about commanding behavior. It had literally
Mm,
nothing to do with donating value. And
no.
then it's so shit because then it became like numbers on the screen, right, today. But those numbers that you accumulate, those system numbers, they start to govern, you know, like how you're allowed to live. They govern where you live, Campbell. Like what neighborhoods can you afford? What suburbs can you afford? What cities can you afford? So they start to govern where you fucking live. I mean, how insane is that? Um, what care you receive, like what benefits you get, how much you're allowed, obviously the more of these false numbers that are in your bank account, your whole credit score
Mm.
increases, your inter, everything about life, you get to get more, you get more time. You don't have to do the 9 to 5. You can just do like 3 days a week. You get more time. You can live in better neighborhoods. You can live in nicer houses. You can have nicer food. You can have you know what I mean? Like, so it's like this system commands behavior as opposed to
Mm.
donates value.
Yeah, yeah. The old
And I
system
think that
was
was, I think that was instant and from the beginning. That's why I just don't
oh
believe in
yeah.
the barter system.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
history of
I
money.
think it was all value based. I don't think it was like, here, I've got four potatoes. Can I have two carrots kind of thing? I think it was value. And the thing is, back then, the value was in the output, in what you actually could do, right? If you were an excellent carpenter and someone needed a chair built, well, they didn't ask you, how many years have you studied
Yeah,
this? Blah, blah, blah. They
yeah,
just like look at your output. Now it's all about input,
yeah.
right?
That's
It's like,
true. Yeah,
I'm a doctor. I studied for 9 years. Oh, I have this and this. Oh, yeah, it's like, and you could find the best mechanic in the world, right? Who's been ripping apart cars since they were 10 in the backyard, but has no qualifications. But those people can't work, right? Because they don't have the years put in, the numbers and all, the right certificate and all this kind of crap. So now we're in this system where it's the input that counts rather than the output. Hence
definitely.
why everything's getting worse and worse and worse and worse all the time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And also that input, if you get particularly good at understanding the algorithms of the input, then you will succeed even above just the input. So now it's just becoming a game of like mastering the algorithms, mastering the binary code. That's really all it's become, because that's where 90% of the Western world very soon is going to be earning their money. They're not going to be, and it's quite an interesting thing. Like we're like the last generation that would basically have really focused on actual practical jobs. I think we were talking the other day in the car, and I was like, who's going to be the next generation of builders, carpenters,
Yeah.
fucking firemen, like ambulance drivers? The kids today don't want those jobs. Those
No.
jobs to them equal really hard work with no income, no being able to get up in the world. So who is going to be doing all these jobs? And those jobs can't be taken over by AI. They're going to be taken over by immigrants.
Yeah,
No,
well.
they are, aren't they? Like,
Well, I
you
mean,
go into
it's
coffee shops all over every city I go to in Australia, they're all Chinese owned. Every petrol station's Indian owned.
yeah,
The Muslims are buying, I mean, whole neighborhoods and suburbs now. Like, it's
yeah,
not like, and it's not just that they're being imported in and given permission to do this. It's also that the generation no longer sees value in these low paid, hard working jobs.
yeah, yeah,
They want
exactly.
to
I
master
mean,
the algorithms.
the most, obviously the most wanted career from the millennials, that is to be an influencer. Right? They definitely don't want to be doctors and lawyers and all this kind of stuff and put in all these years for what? Because and it's not because they're lazy, it's because of the world they're being raised in. They can see it. They can see all these people who have put all this time and everything effort in and they're still struggling. So, why would you? I wouldn't. But not everyone can be an influencer, right? We do need skills. We do need, practical skills. People need to be able to have value that they can give. And it's not, twerking on TikTok, right? Like we've got enough of that. We don't need any more. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, if everyone did just get in sync, with their own timeline, their own numbers, their own value and what they were good at, I'm sure that everything would just kind of work out, right? It would just kind
Well,
of flow in a nice spiral, right?
one of the chapters I was writing an article on, I thought I'd put it in the next edition. Like I started with the idea like the most oppressive numbers in our reality today require a massive amount of energy input to be maintained. The most oppressive numbers require a massive amount of energy input to be maintained. But because I was looking at what if we turn the electricity off? What numbers would survive and what would just disappear from our reality if the electrical grid was over? And the numbers that survive are just really obviously it's like day and night, moon cycles, whatever the moon is, seasons,
Yeah,
basic shit like
months.
Campbell, like distances you can walk,
Mm,
like how far you can walk in a day that feels comfortable to you. How much can you carry in a day? Like how much weight can you carry? How much food can you grow? Like all these, like these are basic natural numbers, but the oppressive ones, they require, like, they're parasitic, like the banks. The banks require so much energy to exist. So much energy. AI,
Oh, geez.
so much energy to exist. The electrical system, the internet, so much energy. The court system, the fines and tax systems, the permit system, the road toll system, so much energy to exist. Mortgages and interest rates. Like that is like, and all that energy is parasitic in nature. It's again, it's extractive.
Mm,
So if the energy source was removed from this system, once again, these oppressive numbers would just disappear. They would no longer exist. If we didn't have the electrical systems, and therefore our like whole 9 to 5 enslavement program like ceased to exist, you'd be in a situation suddenly where would you be like getting up at 9, would you be stepping outside your front door at 9 o'clock and arriving in your backyard at 9 o'clock? And then would you like leave your backyard at 5 o'clock? Would you do that naturally? Or would you just like wake up, stretch, assess the situation, see what the weather was that day, see what the feeling was in the air, see how you were feeling? Were you tired? Were you energized? Was something on your mind that you're inspired to do? Like what needs doing today that's going to support and nourish you? I mean, that's another massive question that we, out of seasonal numbers, don't ask. Does this action nourish me, or am I doing it to survive? Am I working because I need to buy food? But, if you woke up, stood on your back veranda, what action would you decide is going to nourish you? Where are you is this the season for you? Do you naturally feel inspired to go on a long trip? Do you naturally feel inspired to work in your garden that day? I know this sounds like it sounds really hippie. It sounds like a real hippie language, right?
very, very, yeah.
But you can see what I'm saying. Like the oppressive numbers require a huge amount of energy to
Mm,
exist. Extraction, extraction, extraction. So when we talk about
and
simulation theory, that's where it exists. It's a binary
mm,
code that relies on extraction, and it's done the worst extraction ever, which is to extract your relationship to your power source. It's extracted you from your home, from your true placement, your true
mm,
energetic grid. It's extracted you from your own seasons. Been
yeah.
an extraction, the highest level extraction concept ever, probably more disturbing than doomsday extraction. The numbers on the countdown, the numbers in the Bible, the apocalyptic numbers, the revelation numbers, like I think it's worse than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, it's a system that collapses in on itself, right? Everything compounds, right? Compound interest for one. But, the more you work, your money's not expanding, right? Like your bills are compounding, your time is shrinking. And so it's this system that once you get in it, you've got to do more and more and more and more every day just to stay afloat
Yep.
because it's sucking more and
Yep.
more out of you. Everything's
Yep.
compounding, it's not expanding.
Yep.
But nature is expanding, right? You can go out and plant, 10 tomato seeds and you come out the next day and 12 have sprung up or whatever. And then even if it's only 10, when you grow the tomatoes, then you've got 1,000 tomato seeds, right? It's expansive. It keeps
Yeah.
growing and
It's
growing. But
abundant.
but yeah, the system number is or the number system is that it's just collapsing and compounding. Everything just gets,
Yep.
heavier and heavier, and there's more weight on you, and more weight, and you get weaker and weaker as you
Exactly.
do the work week.
Yep.
So it's a trap, right? It's literally a collapsing cube,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole purpose of us even getting into this topic really is basically to give us yet another pathway, another crack through this oppression, through this falsity, through this false reality that we found us, this reality full of deception that we found ourselves in. To like literally look at the system of reality through the idea of numbers is a really interesting thing to do because it really does, like, you can really start to make much clearer decisions. It's true. Like, if it's causing you anxiety, it's extractive. If it's causing you anxiety, it's against intelligence. If it's causing you ease and it's causing you flow and it's causing you a sense of calmness, it's pro-intelligence. And it's the opposite of extraction. It's
Mm,
it's the nature of abundance. So like, and the fact that they've coupled this simulation false system with abundance is another deception because that's false abundance. It's false abundance that can be removed because it's completely brittle, completely brittle. So having money in the bank account versus having food growing is an entirely different situation. But the system would look down at the food grower, would look
Mm,
down at the hippie, would it look down at that? In actual fact, would try to eradicate that. But it would look down, it wouldn't see that as financial success. Financial success is numbers on a screen, numbers on a screen. That's entirely brittle. And I think
mm,
for us as a community, it's starting to get our heads around a real clear, I, I was going to say manifesto. That's not the right word, like a clear guidance code through this next 10 years because the extractive numbers, the oppressive numbers are going to be more extractive, more oppressive. They're going to beef them up to the max. You're going to get taxed, fined on unbelievable things. You'll have no way of getting out of it. They'll just strip you of your driver's license, strip you of all the things you need to exist. Like the control grid around reality right now is dramatically increasing over the next 10 years, right? You'd agree. So we as a
yes.
community would be super intelligent to decide clearly once and for all what intelligence we're aligning with, number one, and what's true abundance, number two. What is trustworthy, what is brittle, you
Mm,
know, and what is trustworthy part of reality and what is a brittle part of reality. Because all I can really think at this point is like we as a community, and I guess this is our next idea, which by the way is the magazines at the printers.
magazine. Yes. Think
So this is a
below.
good one. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would recommend this is the one you subscribe for because there is an invitation in there. And, I just like at the end of the day, for a community to thrive through these times, we're going to have to align with natural intelligence. And we're going to have to align with the nature of numbers, not the system of numbers. And to do that, we can only do that as a community. You can only do that with others because
Mm,
it's relational. It's a
yeah.
relational experience. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just
Well,
intelligence talking.
the system teaches us that to be alone, to be an individual, right? You don't
To have
share.
your own bank account.
Have your own bank account, have your own pile. Don't give it away. Don't let people come and take from it. Don't share. Just build the biggest pile you can for yourself, and then you're the most successful. But there's definitely other ways, right? And I think, we probably all know, right, that together, when we all combine and we all put resources and thinking and intention together into something, then you get something
Yeah.
much, much better out of it, right?
Yep. Because true intelligence is relational. It's
Mm.
relationship forming.
Yeah.
And relationship forming, relational is where true abundance comes from, you see. Like it's not something that there's no certainty. It's a very brittle disposition when you're doing it by yourself using the system.
Mm.
It's like false wealth that can be stripped.
We see and hear about it all the time, people make all this money and then something happens in the numbers in the stock market or whatever, and they lose it all. And it's, oh my God, and people literally take their own lives, when this stuff kind of stuff happens because their whole life is the numbers. How many numbers have I got? And basically the thinking is the more numbers I have, the better I am, the more successful I
Hmm.
am, the more worthy I am, the more people will like me, which is all BS, right? By the way. And we can't solve the problems of the system from within the system. I think it might have been Einstein, the man in the dress, who said you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it, right? You've got to go above and beyond it.
Well, I think he was talking about the demon that spoke in his mind, Campbell,
Told
not
him
on
to
this
wear high heels and
topic.
marry his
His
cousin. Yeah.
his higher system was like Abrahamic.
Even if he
That's just-
existed, I'm sure that some intelligent person said it and they stole it and gave it to
But I mean,
Einstein.
there is a lot of truth in this. Like,
I
true
mean, could you get a more
intelligence.
small hat name than Einstein? I mean, really, they put in
Yeah,
twice, two
yeah,
Eins.
yeah. The
Same.
true system of wealth is in relationship. It's in relationship. Like if you've got a community who's creating something together, there's so much more strength in that. It's like it creates an ecosystem you'd see in nature. And that ecosystem protects and promotes strength. And it does. Nature shows us that all the time. A thriving ecosystem is strong and it grows old trees, big old trees, and it grows the biodiversity layers that are going to be there for a long, 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 long time. It creates certainty and it creates um, it creates long growth. Like, I mean, we look at
Mm,
Tartaria and the civilizations and the buildings, they've lasted a long time. We look at the buildings that have been built out of an oppressive numbers system, and they collapse within a year of them being built.
mm,
It's not built with longevity in mind. It's built with control and command and oppression in mind. So it's a very different thing. But when a community of people come together, they form natural intelligence. They form relational number systems,
mm,
and it's like it's a whole other thing. And I think ultimately, like we will move into that direction with our community. And I mean, I don't know who else out there in the world is even discussing these sorts of things, like what they're doing with their communities. And I mean, I'm certain that there are others forming, but maybe not with this specific consciousness or these specific reasons, but it's definitely happening out there. But
mm.
I can't see how when you have this consciousness already, you can get through the next 10 years without saying yes to forming relational seasons, relational numbers, relational
Mm.
movements of energy with others.
Yeah, like we've just got to be like nature, observe nature and see what it does, right? Like if there's one tree out in the middle of a field, it doesn't last long because it's there by itself. It's open to all the elements, the animals, all this stuff, right? But you then surround that by another, 100 or 1,000 plants and trees, and it's suddenly safe. It's got its own system, and that system
Yeah,
renews itself and looks
it
after
does.
itself, right? It's
It does.
self-sustaining. It doesn't need anything from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly the same with us. We are the
Yep.
same. We're the same
Mm-hmm.
energy signatures, fractions and fractals as nature. So, and this is again what we see in all the old writings, philosophies, buildings, all this stuff. It's all they observe nature, and it's like, well, how are we more like nature? And when they do that, like you said, they can build buildings that stand for 500,000 years. They go through earthquakes and nothing affects them, right? And they still look amazing, right? When it's all numbers, it's all how much can we afford? Oh, well, we can't afford it to be that beautiful, so we'll cheap it up, and oh, we can only do square stuff because oh, sorry, you can't have a third bedroom even though you've got four kids because you don't have enough numbers, so we have to shorten the numbers here so the numbers match. It's
Yeah.
all this bullshit, right? Where nature, it's just like, well, I need this, I need a house this big. Oh, look, there's an abundance of wood everywhere. I'll just make it right?
Yeah.
On whatever numbers I want. I might even make a round wall and a spiral in the middle, because
And
that's
it
the
will
reason
stand
everything's
strong.
square and angular is because it's cheaper, right? You can take numbers off here and put them on there, and you get a house, but it's not empowering to us. It's definitely, you don't go into it. Some houses, yeah, but most houses, like they don't give you energy, right? Because right angles
Mm-hmm.
suck energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're traps. So yeah, I mean, we've been studying this stuff really, but we need to start,
Mm-hmm.
start moving in this direction. And the biggest part is to be, I guess, brave enough to do it, to disconnect from the other number system because it's so ingrained that we need numbers. How am I going to pay the rent this week? How am I going to pay the
Yeah.
bills? How am I going to get food? Do I have enough numbers? Oh my God, no, I've got to get up at this number so I can go and earn more numbers and hopefully have enough numbers at the end of the week. And like but to walk away from that just then to see that doing things differently is going to get you a different result is really I guess where it starts, but we are in a bit of a conundrum. A lot of people, we need each other, we need groups, we need connection, may need places to start doing this stuff, and that's where we need to start, right, is coming together and putting all our fractals together, right, all of our cool numbers, our spiral numbers.
Yeah, because, like at the end of the day, artificial intelligence all it can do is simulate intelligence. That's all it can do. So all of these numbers that have come out of these systems can only simulate. It's again the simulation. And it's again just creating a false idea of reality. Whereas I guess living systems are more like intelligence in motion. They're like intelligence in movement. It's like it's alive, it's connected to the next thing, and the next thing can change that, and then it becomes stronger, and then that's alive, and then it expands out. So you've got this expansive experience of a natural system versus a false system, which is ultimately oppressive and singular and doesn't move. And I guess from this conversation, it's kind of where you'd look at where we would say service to self or service to others. I guess this is sort of like if you look at it from a simulation
Yeah.
versus a natural world, or a simulated intelligence versus a natural intelligence motion, it's the same thing, right? A simulated intelligence is service to self
Yeah.
because it can't be any way else because it's not relational. It is not relational. There has to be service to self. Whereas, you know, natural intelligence that's in motion is relational. So it has to be by its nature service to others.
Mm.
So when a tree exists, it's ultimately in service to all the life that's around it. Its roots are in service, its leaves, its branches, its shade, its shadow, its all of that is in service to a whole ecosystem around it.
Mm.
And so, I mean, I think like, so that's interesting because, we've talked a lot about service to self and service to others and positive charge and negative charge. We've just never related it to numbers before. And the idea of
Mm.
false, of system numbers and natural numbers, we've never related it.
It's totally true. I mean, nature, like we just said, is it's self-sustaining, right? But the system will cut a forest down to get
Mm,
more numbers to serve
mm,
itself.
mm.
So, and so in that statement, one is expansive, one is destructive. One builds life, one destroys it, right? This is the polarity, right? This is the
Mm-hmm.
opposites, and this is the imposed, simulation that they're trying to bring in. Like it's not here yet. We're not in it. We still have choice to get out and go, no, we choose nature. We choose abundance, right? We choose something that's going to be for us that we can, grow.
And I
Um,
guess,
yeah, rather than the system, which is the
so-
opposite.
yeah, and I guess, we could start to swap some of our language out. Like just you saying we choose nature. If we want to talk about the same thing in a different way, we could say we choose relational intelligence. Like
Yeah,
that is saying exactly the same thing. We
it
literally choose
is.
relational intelligence.
I mean, you can't
Like
relate to a computer. Lots of people try to relate to AI, but
you can't.
well, you can't. I mean, we've got all these people asking it all these spiritual questions and where did we come from and I'm making all these videos, but I mean, apart from the fact that, AI has just been proven wrong so many times. It's just spouting back to you the bullshit that it thinks you want to hear, right?
Yeah.
It's
It's
not coming up,
simulated
it's not
intelligence
thinking, it's similar because it's going through everyone else's ideas and just basically putting some together, finding out who agrees with you and spewing it back to you.
Yeah.
Yes, you're amazing, you're perfect, you're right about everything. And this is what it does, and it's completely like it's been proven wrong so many times. It just lies all the time, AI, and gives false stuff. So you can
Whereas
try and
again,
relate to it, but there's nothing there. You can't go out into nature and meditate with AI. You can't. No,
well,
you
that's a good point, Cam, because relational intelligence can't actually lie. Because
no.
if relational intelligence makes a mistake, it basically has to rebalance it in order to counteract that energetic misplace.
Yeah,
And so it's always presenting truth in motion,
it's always
always truth
seeking
in
balance
motion.
as well.
Yep. It's
Where the
seeking balance
yeah, where the system is always seeking division, right, and competition
and
and
separation
separation, all this
and
kind of stuff,
separation. Yeah.
where, they tell us, in nature, oh, it's all competition. It's all, no, it's not. It's all working together as one.
Hmm.
If it was
Hmm.
competition, like which animal can eat the most of another animal, well, nature would break down because that it doesn't, it's got to, by its very nature, it has to stay in abundance, right? Or else it will all collapse. Like, so, they try and teach us the law of the jungle. It's all competition. It's what's the other one? The survival of the fittest. Bullshit. It's
Yeah,
survival of everything. The
yeah,
survival of the most is what
yeah.
nature's like plan is.
That's right. And that's why anything in within the realms of relational intelligence is lasts a long time.
Yes.
I mean, like in all of throughout all the history that we've studied, and then throughout all the rest of the history that we can't even get our heads around, like, throughout the entire experience of the existence of this realm, like nature's never not been here. Like it is, relational intelligence is ultimate long lasting, long view, ultimate opposite to brittleness. It
Yeah,
is the ultimate opposite.
nature's never let us down, right? There's never been, oh my gosh, some part of the bush got wiped out. Oh, it's refusing to grow back. So I went out to the orchard and nature said it's not growing oranges for the next 2 years. Like it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And we don't really need to put much input into it. It just does it,
Yeah,
right? In fact, if we weren't even there, it would still keep doing it,
still do
right?
it.
But
All we can do is like craft it and work with it
craft it.
and
Yeah, get the energy flowing better and make it more beautiful. Why not? But the output, right? Like, how do we make the output better? But in the system, it's input, 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 input. Like, give me more input, and I'll give you less output.
yeah, I definitely requires massive input, massive, 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 massive input for
Mm.
a tiny little bit of output. Agreed. So, I mean, like, do you know of anyone that speaks on the topic of simulation theory, Cam, that actually doesn't also have sort of like a doomsday prophecy in there, or an apocalyptic prophecy, or a reset prophecy, and like
No,
the
yeah,
concept of the simulation, the system, this like oppressive number system that's extractive, always seems to be connected to and linked
it's
to an end timeline.
it's always shrinking down to a point, isn't it?
Yes, compression, compressing to that
Compression, yeah, where
point.
again, nature's the exact opposite. It's always
Yeah,
expansion, expansion, expansion. But yeah, no, I've never come across like I haven't, and that's really the reason that I never liked, just the feeling of the whole simulation theory is
mm.
because it does. It
Yeah, it feels
always,
bad.
yeah, yeah, like the results of it are bad,
Yeah,
like doomsday, and basically you can't do anything about it because you're a slave and you're in a simulated reality, but you can't remember choosing it.
yeah.
It's all yeah, it's very globalism, new world order kind of thinking, right?
Whereas if you go into the natural system and relational intelligence, there simply is no end date. It only knows how to live. It never, ever has been associated with or connected to an end date, and it never has ended. No
No,
matter what we've like pieced together with history, no matter what engineered, events have occurred onto it, it has never ended. So then I guess the most simple question to end this podcast is, which timeline do you want to sit on? And we all already know the answer to that. And then once you choose that, then how refined are you going to decide to become as an individual, a part of that relational intelligence? How refined are you going to be at knowing your own timeline and your own season and your own right time to act and move and do things? Like, how aligned are you going to be with your own manifestation skills? How many obstacles are you going to avoid because you've become like intelligent onto your own? You've become a machine. Oh no, no, wrong word. Like an organic expression of your own relational intelligence. Because to know that side of you, you need to know the seasons of you. You need to know how you
mm,
relate to the natural world around you. And if we as a community get those two things done right, if we can get our heads around both of those things, man, our future, our next 50 years is going to be like a marvel to see. It's literally, imagine having a community of a few thousand of us, all in connection with relational intelligence, or building with relational intelligence, and then knowing our own individual seasons, And in doing all of that, the obstacles and the flow are so remarkably different. The manifestation
Totally.
so extraordinary. Imagine doing that as
Totally.
a community.
Yeah, well, I mean, and time, as far as we see it, would cease to exist. If
Oh
you went
yeah,
out in the Amazon and found a tribe and said, "Oh, what
I see
time is
so.
it?" They'd like look at you like you were mad. They'd be like, "It's now. What are you talking about?" I don't. When did your culture start? What are you talking about? They don't know
Yeah,
because they're just living in sync and, know thyself, right? And we hear this concept of we're a fractal of the universe. So to know thyself is to know nature. It's to know, the place that you're in and the energies and how it all works. That's to know yourself. And once you get in sync with that, apart from the fact that it's probably the biggest thing you can do to move away from the system because it's completely opposite. It's looking at things oppositely. It's looking at how things work differently, and putting that into, a
yeah, man.
process, into action.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to get something out of that that is much different than we get from the system. It's going to be expansive, not contractive,
Fuck yeah.
you
So
know?
true. Like, it's so true. And such a great experiment, like an exploration, I should say, for a community to come together, remove time as a system, just remove it, only go on the seasonal and what our eyes are showing us, and, you know, rely on the abundance gifted in natural intelligence, which will replace the need for this false financial grid that we're all sort of caught up in. I'm excited. I mean, I think that we're getting close. I mean, the last couple of shows, they're not like, we're not like blasting new theories to you. We're not like, we're not coming up with some extraordinary thing that we've never thought about. We're actually getting into sort of more of the like subtle um, meanderings through refining our understanding of, our language and how it works. And I think looking at the simulation theory has been very clarifying for this because once you make a decision on that, everything else just sort of like falls into place, becomes more obvious, more powerful, more clear, more clarifying, more calm, more easy, like it just. So
Yeah.
I know that these aren't like what are the words when something's like a headline show, like
Novel, they're not like,
yeah,
yeah,
like
they're not
it's
novel
not
ideas.
like
They're
that
not
at
like,
this
oh my
level.
God,
Yeah, yeah.
mind blowing.
Yeah, mind blowing. These are more gentle meanderings through just sort of like things that'll make sense to all of you guys as they make sense to us. Just more clarification of how we're looking at things and what choices we're making, more clarification on the language. Like, and I
Mm.
say it one more time, we're not returning to nature, but we are. We're returning to relational intelligence. I mean, that is a phrase that we should just keep chewing on for a bit because it really then makes it very clear what is extractive intelligence and what is relational intelligence and what where you sit there and what decisions you're making around those two objectives. So I don't know, I'm enjoying this. They're quieter shows, Campbell. They're quieter.
Yeah, but they have much more potential for real change, rather than things that are more, mind blowing, explosive, whatever we want to put in. They're all
Yeah,
fun, rabbit holes are fun, but in the end, we're doing this because we actually want to change. We're not happy with the system. We're not
yeah,
happy with the way it's going. We want the next generations to have a completely different reality. We want our next 50 years to be completely different. And so that means we need to do something completely different, right? We need to, because there's so much talk about, getting out of, the system and all this and how do we do it and law and that. But I think, we've got to look at a fundamental level. We've literally got to change, the base, the foundation. You can't be halfway up a building and then go sideways. We can't build the new reality kind of on the foundation of the system, right? We've got to strip it all back and start a new building. And I think that's sort of where we're heading, right? Where we're
yeah.
asking the bigger questions, not how can we be more successful within the system, which is all that anyone ever wants to teach you, right? Which should tell you
I
something.
mean,
It's like how do we create something better?
talking about like mermaids and understanding that maybe there's going to be an invasion from the oceans coming up. That's
Yeah.
fun. That's fun. That's fun and exciting and stimulating to talk about. But when I look at this sort of work, I can overlay it into my actual reality and it's tangible. So, for example, the newspaper that we've created, that's relational intelligence there. Because that whole newspaper is made up of submissions from the audience, from the community worldwide. We don't input into it or guide it or direct it. It is whatever comes. That is a relationship there. That's a relational experience. So you're looking at a publication in your hands that's brimming with relational intelligence and service to others because everyone's writing in, not in service to self. They're writing in, things that they've found that heal things or that, are going to help your dog or going to help you build a toilet in an emergency or, open your mind. Like it's all very relational context.
Mm.
And, I love it for that reason. It really does have this beautiful, coherent, flowing energy. That newspaper,
Yeah.
again, if you haven't subscribed, get into it. It really
Subscribe.
is
Yes.
a
Link
massive,
below.
beautiful heartbeat coming out of a community of people. But our shows, our live events, like all the things that sort of we're looking at doing and have naturally wanted to do, it's all founded in relational intelligence.
Mm. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that. But when you look at so many other like, you look at the podcast, I mean, you could basically show it, you can like look at a distinctive difference between individuals or organizations or podcasts, whatever, that are founded on oppressive intelligence or false intelligence or simulated intelligence, and ones that are founded on relational intelligence. Ones that are founded on community forming and abundance within communities forming, or that are not, that are service to self.
Mm.
And abundance is flowing to the individual, but there's a doomsday date waiting for you at the end of it.
Well, yeah, it's all so sensational today, isn't it? Like, oh my God, because it's novel, right? Like people see it, it's like, oh my God, what's happening there? Oh my God, I need to know. But what's the result of that? You've just wasted more time. Further ahead or closer to where you want to be, and you've just put more crap in your head that you probably don't want in there, right? More negative stuff. And
Mhm.
with all of this stuff, the end point is destruction. But what do we see when we get out in nature? We don't see destruction anywhere. Like I said before, destruction in nature equals new life. Like it does within the system. It just equals debt and nothingness, right? And that's where all of this is leading. The financial system's collapsing. Oh my God, we're all going to be poor. There's not enough of this. We don't have enough resources. World War Three. It's all this destructive end of nothingness, which is again the complete opposite to what we experience in nature.
Yeah, I mean, it's designed to extract your negative emotions.
Extracting, yeah, down to
That's it.
nothing. Yeah.
And it's always been that way since the
It's like the
beginning.
little what we got taught in maths, like is it bigger or smaller? The little arrows. And the system is reduces everything to nothing. Nature reduces something to everything.
It reduces. It doesn't reduce, it does the opposite. But,
Did I say
it's
nature reduces? Produces.
everything to something. But I like the concept. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very, I
Produces.
mean, it's like, I've never really settled. Gosh,
What
I
is
mean, I've
juice?
had so many people like want to help me on this topic, of like the idea that money or wealth is just currency and it doesn't have an emotional exchange there. It's just currency. It's how your attitude deals with it. But I am never going to be able to get my head around not feeling like it is in its nature extractive and parasitic. It feels like simulated intelligence to me. It's never not felt like that. I've never got my head around it. I defy all of the personal development courses I've been on that will teach me that money's just currency and it's just an exchange, drop your negative attitude. But I don't feel it. To me, it's
Well,
extractive and has always been that way from its seed intention point.
like we've both done lots and lots and lots of personal development course. I mean, gosh, we spent tens of thousands of dollars, right? Doing all this stuff. And what I've noticed, I've had the same story. Oh, it's just this, just be successful, rah, rah. But 100% of the time, the people telling me this, they're stuck in a loop, man. They can't get out of it because they're stuck, that they're all worth all this money, but they have to keep working, getting more and more and more and more and more numbers. They're completely trapped by their own system. Like there's no expansion at the end of that. There's no freedom. These people will literally work until they're too old to, and they won't ever get to enjoy, the fruits of their labor, right? Well, in nature, you actually do get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? You grow an orange tree and you can eat the fruit of your labor. But yeah, so this whole self-help thing, this is my problem with it. It's all within the system. How to
Mm.
succeed within the system, which is individualization, how to have
Because
more numbers in than your neighbors, how to have a bigger car because then you're successful, right? Other people say that you're worthy now, right? But you go
yeah.
and plant an orchard, and most people will go, "Well, where's your Ferrari?"
I
You
mean,
know?
because extractive intelligence denotes trauma and
Yeah.
denotes the need for therapy and denotes the need for like
And
optimization, like an algorithm. It denotes it's like it's
mm,
a complete perfect system,
it's all
extractive
lack
system
based. It's all
to
lack based,
require that sort of solution. Yeah.
isn't it? Like, why is the only reason people go to make more money? Because they believe they're in lack. That's it.
Yeah.
Even if they're billionaires, they still believe that they're lacking something.
Or they want to buy their way through an extractive system and be more comfortable. Yeah, I totally agree. Whereas, like
It's
it's quite hard to be depressed when you're in a natural
nature.
system. It's
Mm.
quite difficult. I've tried it. I've tried to be very grumpy in nature and take my like, cynicism of the world back in, going back a few years into nature. And it's very hard to maintain it because you can't help but like you get distracted by just being in it and needing to respond to it, and it's so in motion that you can't stay stuck in a rut there. But in extractive intelligence, you definitely can stay stuck in a rut because it's just habitual tick 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 tick. There's nothing breaking through that pattern, so that's just another thing as far as mental health goes and why we have such a massive issue with mental health, right? It's extractive intelligence dominating the system. Get
Mm.
out of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And worth, like the system doesn't deem me worthy and all this kind of stuff because I don't have enough numbers and all this other
Mm.
bullshit. But yeah, I mean, you don't see that, right, in nature. Like nature doesn't, yeah, give you trauma. Nature doesn't give you mental illness.
Yeah,
It actually gives you remedies, is what it gives you.
it does give you remedy.
Solutions. Mm.
All
So
right,
choose
dude.
which path you're on, guys. Which path are you going to walk?
One of our audience members wrote to me last week, and this t-shirt I'm wearing told me this terrible story about the designers. Like, I had
Oh,
no idea. Apparently, they're no good. They've been like
oh,
ripping off artists, and then I looked them up, and yeah, they don't look very wholesome. They're very simulated, extractive system. But fuck it. Now I have them. I like them, and that's that. I'm not going to waste
well,
it.
it's not
But
like you
it's
got
just
to throw them
disappointing.
away. You just have to
No,
find.
but disappointing.
It
That
is.
extractive intelligence can actually distort, the can distort the service to others mentality, so
Yeah,
even when you begin by doing some good action and something creative and something beautiful and harmonized, as soon as that extractive nature comes in via wanting to make money in the system, you corrupt it, you fucked it, and it's like loses the I guess relation,
it's
it loses the relationship.
yeah,
Mm.
and its value really.
Yeah, I mean it's ironic
I
because
mean,
the whole issue with this brand was that it was stealing designs from their artists. So it's like it's removed the relationships,
yeah, it's
which
got
is
an
of course affected its audience.
individual,
Yeah.
to get the biggest castle and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, which again is the system. It's not, I mean, does karma exist in nature? I was just wondering. Does it just exist in the system? Because, karma, I guess when you think about it, is really just the system because well, I mean, we think of karma like as a bad thing, right? It's always going to take more and more and more from you.
I mean
I
it's
mean,
just karma is just the nature of cause and effect, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, really, it
So
is. So,
I mean, if you took the word karma out of it, which has got such massive religious undertones and such like
yeah, karma
dire,
and dharma and all this. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if you just say it as law of cause and effect, it just, yeah, that feels natural to me. There would be a
Yeah,
natural
because if
movement of
you're
energy through
in
cause and effect.
nature, that's exactly what it is, cause and effect. You cut
Yeah,
down too many trees and you're gonna feel the effects of that, right?
yeah.
If
Yeah.
you do good things, you're going to feel the effect of that.
Yeah.
That's it, I think. I don't think it's God smiting anyone, or it could be Yahweh. He likes to smite.
What a word, smite. What a
Smite.
word. Far out. I guess we're smiting the
We're,
simulation,
we're
Campbell.
smiting back.
We smite a lot of things, actually. You and I,
I'll
we're
take your
quite good at
smite
smiting.
and raise you two smites.
All right, on that smitey note, everyone, I think
Smiting.
we'll leave you for the week. That was a slow meander through a good concept, get our heads around. Um, and yeah, we'll see you next week on Tartaria, Australia. Oh my God, we never remember to. We've got Rockhampton gig coming
I
up.
was just going to say, 28th of February, we're
Fuck, it's
going to
like a
be in,
month.
yeah, well, yeah, 5, 6 weeks. We're going to be in Rockhampton. 28th is a Saturday. Tickets available, tartariaustralia.com, link below. Come and join us if you're in the area. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. If you're in the upper regions of Queensland, wherever you are, make the effort to come down for the day. Camp at the showgrounds if you need to, and just come down because, like, we won't be hitting Rockhampton again for a while. So it would be really amazing to call all the troops from Queensland and that sort of top region of Australia to come and connect in. We'll have an amazing day. We'll have an amazing day with each other, and we'll go out for dinner. We'll have the next day. Like, it will be a really great weekend. Totally worth the effort. At this time in human history, it is so worth the investment. You definitely want to connect in. You want to hear about the next idea. You want to hear about where we're going in this year and next. Like, trust me, you want to come and make the effort to connect in. So anyone in Queensland who's around the area, Rockhampton at the end of the month, do it, do it, do it. Make the effort.
Make the
It's going to
effort.
be
Yep.
definitely worth a massive investment, good investment in your next 50 years on this realm. I promise you.
Mm. Yeah, definitely worth it. Especially if you're looking to make more of your tribe and all that kind of stuff, make connections. So if you're in North Queensland area
Or Queensland,
or Queensland in general, this one's for you. This is our only Queensland event this year
or
because
the Northern Territory.
we're going all the Northern Territory. Even if you're in Perth and you feel like coming, just drive for a
Man, I just
week.
think like Campbell and I are making a massive effort this year to go and connect all around Australia. And it's really, we're doing this in service because we are basically coming in to connect you with an idea for like the next 50 years and like just get your asses there, right? If you consider this your tribe, your soul group, your community, then get your fucking asses there.
Yeah, man. If you never go, you will never know what's
Mm-hmm.
happening. Get involved.
Yep. Get involved. All right, everyone. We love ya. We love ya. We love ya.
Love
Here's
you,
to
guts.
relational intelligence. Here's to us all moving into relational intelligence. And we will see you next week on Tartaria, Australia.
We will. All right. Stay awesome, guys. See ya.